Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP Mail interview. Today, I get to interview Jai. So, Jai, welcome, dude.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jai, can you tell us your full type, please?
I'm an ENFP, a very introverted ENFP. In the OP, it's double feminine, Ne-Fi, consume, sleep, blast, play last, double activated on the sleep.
And then, what did you think, and how did you feel when you got your results?
I was blown away. I thought I was an IJ. I thought I was. I typed myself as an NIFE. And when I got my type back, Dave was telling me all about, I'm not doing the NI thing, I'm doing the NE thing. It blew my mind, basically.
Yeah, you're like a glass lizard, right? Like you are very IJ. You're very IJ-like for like an EP.
Yes, yeah. In fact, I'm married to an EP, and I kind of play the IJ role often. but I'm actually an EP.
Oh, your wife is officially typed as an EP also?
No, not officially typed, unofficially.
Oh, I see.
SCFI, not sure about anything else. Double feminine, I'm pretty sure.
You typed her or someone else or
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, for all you know, she's also she is an IJ. Who knows? Like those glass lizard ones, like with double activated SE at the bottom or double activated NE at the bottom.
Yeah.
Totally
could be.
All right, cool, man. So okay, I want to start with my burning question for you because you're the same type as Mrbeast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
when Dave told me that for the first time, I binge watched a couple of his videos, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, I love watching his interviews. They're so good. Like the guy, like it's just so interesting to see it from like the opposite, like ENFP from my standpoint, because like your play last, but I'm play first, and I'm double activated play, but I'm sleep last, and you're double activated sleep. So for me, like you like what is like the opposite of what I don't see, and vice versa, and vice versa. So and a lot of people that's also been typed as like you, Mrbeast, and whatnot. There was another guy in the class. Like it seems like you guys seem to be very successful in whatever endeavor that you choose. Because I feel like you guys, like with your consume first and like with your FI, like you know what you want and you're passionate about it, but then you have like the SI that's double activated to make it happen. So I want to start with that. Let's go jump in right on your on your fourth function, SI. It's feminine, but it's double activated. So how do you personally see that double activated SI, whether that's with your sleep or with your blast?
It's an interesting dichotomy because on one end it's obscure and I can't do it for too long, but on the other end it's almost my default place to go for certain things. But I still have classic SI problems and things I have to focus on the most. All ST things is I have to put extra effort into it. And really, OP let me become aware of this. And it's helped me out a lot.
I interviewed someone before that's also play last ENFP, but she was double masculine. So for her, with her play, it's not that she has trouble pinging with people, it's that she runs out of social energy really quickly. How do you personally experience your play last? Is it that you have trouble do you have more trouble with the ping side, or is it more like the social energy, or maybe a little bit of both that you have issues?
It's absolutely both. Funny you mentioned that because I was at Home Depot recently with my wife, and we were trying to find something, and she's like, "Just ask the guy." I'm like, "No, I'll find it. And she was like, "Don't you want to just go there and ask him? Spend 2 seconds instead of 45 minutes going around searching it yourself?" I'm like, no, I'd rather spend 45 minutes searching it for myself instead of go and ask someone where it is. So, and social energy, yep, I get drained real quick.
So it seems like your wife is high play then, if you're play last.
I believe she is, yes.
Okay, so social energy wise, it's quite low. But what about the pinging? Like once you're actually talking to someone, do you have trouble with the pinging, like the back and forth conversation, or not so much?
I just tend, there's no big desire to participate. And when I do, I kind of come at it from an angle, pretending not to be as processed as I am on something, and just seeing what the conversation could add to my consume, basically. It's, I would say, pretty rarely am I in like a true play state. Yeah, that's just how it is.
So I noticed people would play last. It's like the most random last animal that I've seen. It's super random because I've interviewed a few people who are play last, and everyone is super different. So there's people who don't want to interact with the tribe. Like the tribe interaction is something they avoid or they extremely limit. But there are ones that do want to interact with the tribe, but they just don't know how to go about it. So which side of the fence would you say you are?
I would say not too much of a desire. You know, I was also, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was a monk for 10 years in Hawaii.
No,
and so it was a very austere and, you know, not much play and pinging going on. It was very, you know, you in a cave sort of scenario. And that's kind of my home base. That's where I'm comfortable. Venturing out to, you know, socialize and play and add that dynamic, that's very at the bottom of the scale, so to speak.
What about with your wife? Do you like using your play with your wife, or?
Yes. In fact, I was gonna try to weave it in that like my play is like very specific towards like one person that's, you know, like deep in my FI. And it's like, it's very narrow, and it happens when like you know, everything is fine, everything's perfect, and like I'm allowed to do the play.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess your wife takes all the, like, if you have something to share, it's always the same person, because otherwise, yeah. What about your family members or like friends you grew up with?
Well, my sister is very ST. Don't know exactly what type she is, but I believe SETE. So, you know, me being double masculine NF is quite the opposite. Growing up, I just had mainly IP friends, mainly the IP type, that are very quiet. Yeah.
So how do you guys hang out?
Like we have like a very deep interest. Like my best friend in high school, we raced motorcycles, and that was our thing. And so our whole friendship, everything was just based around racing motorcycles.
Gotcha. Okay, so your play is NT. So besides, okay, if you're not interacting with the tribe from a social perspective, what about like from a work perspective where you have to figure things out, you know, NT, solve a puzzle? Do you enjoy that aspect of play?
I do. I would say I enjoy that more. And when I went to college, I didn't finish, but I wanted to go into theoretical physics, just because I really like that figuring out aspect sort of thing, and I still do. And like a lot of as a monk, a lot of the questions about like the universe and life and everything, you know, that was a major part of, you know, trying to figure that out, almost NT-ish. And I lost my train of thought. I'm not sure where we're going with this. What was the question?
No, I was asking you because earlier when we were talking about the pinging, the desire to use play, and then the last part, which is NT. It seems like the NT side, the figuring things out, solving a puzzle with the tribe, was the one aspect of play that you do like.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree with that. Yeah.
And so is that something that you seek out then?
Yeah, more in hobby-ish, like a hobby. Yep. For sure.
I see. Okay. So it seems like for you, it's like the NT is fine. You like the NT side, pinging only if you have to, but otherwise you'd rather not. And then
Right.
and what's the other one? Yeah, and then the pinging back and forth. You know what? I'm talking to you right now. You seem like you're okay with the pinging back and forth. So it seems like it's more like the desire to.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, and a few times when I've also worked on it quite a bit, but the few times I actually had a desire, it worked out really well, but I can't sustain it for too long. It's little tiny spurts, and then it's just.
You're still a double-sider though, so even though you're play last, you can, I guess you're not scared to talk to people if you have to. It's like
no, not a problem. No, yeah, people are fine.
Yeah.
It's the things.
Yeah, I think that's like it's like the weirdest, like having play last, but like not being scared of people. It's like it's such an interesting combination, because it's like because then you could almost get accused of being like a decider, but you're not scared of people. It's like, yeah, it's fine. If I really have to, I'll talk to them, not because I'm scared, I just don't want to.
Right.
Okay. So let's go with your blast. Your blast is double feminine and it's ST, but you have it activated. It's third, so you can use it. It's just like very flexible. How do you personally experience that?
After I'm really processed with something, or I've discovered something that I've wanted to figure out for a while, I'll blast. If I have to, it's there. I even enjoy it. It's just but it's just not default. Default for me is just going over the info, once more, and like expanding, trying to attack everything at different angles, poking at different things, what ifs. Very, very consume sleep.
Let's talk about your consume then. Your consume is double masculine, NF.
Yes.
It's
very powerful. Yeah. So much so I didn't even realize it until I got typed by Dave.
Yes, your consume is very powerful. But I think what I'm wondering though is your sleep even more powerful, because it's double activated, so how do you see it personally? Do you feel like your sleep is or your consume?
I would say they're pretty equal. I didn't realize that was all I was doing to an excessive amount. It was studying every aspect of something, going over it, making sure there's no holes in the understanding, and then like actually doing the thing. That was where the challenge is. And so reducing the consume and doing more and acting more, it's been a huge help of knowing that.
So from the people that do have the same function stack as you, or animal stack, sorry, it seems like you guys can still get things done, even if your blast and your play is a demon, just because you do have blast third. So it still enables you to get started and execute, even though maybe it'll take a little bit more time, because you're info dominant too, like me. So I can relate with you. It's like having the most accurate information first before you can execute. So how do you know when it's time to press the trigger to get started and start your project or whatever it is that you want to get going to do?
I would say like before OP and knowing all about this, it was It was after I knew every single shred of info, and I thought I'd have to be an absolute expert at something before I could take action on it. Now it's much reduced, to the point where it feels early to me, but it's actually not in reality.
What made you decide to reduce the consume and to produce more?
I saw the dysfunction of it. I saw that it wasn't actually helpful. I didn't need to know more about this to take action and actually either be successful or, get the ball rolling. And you can also consume and figure out as you're going. You don't have to do it all beforehand. It's kind of like I'm driving from where I live in Austin, Texas to Las Vegas. I don't have to know exactly every detail of which lane I got to be in, which exit, which you got the main path, and when you get there, you'll know which parking lot to go into. I don't have to know everything before taking the journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, that's kind of what I do to begin with, because I have blast above consume. So for me, I will get started, and then when I get stumped, then I go in a deep consume. But I won't do it until I get stumped. So I'll get stumped first. So it's kind of similar to what you said. It's like, I think when you get there, you'll know what you'll know what you need to research. You can always pull up the map, right? Like if you're using the direction example. Yeah. And I guess as long as you're not consume last and you're not like, going to sleep to look for the answer, you're actually consuming for the answer. I think that's good. All right, so we're here now at the last animal sleep. This is the one we're gonna go deep dive in. I'm gonna ask you tons of questions about this one because I think this one is super fascinating. Your sleep is SF. It's double activated, and it's a savior for you. So, how do you personally see it before? So before I ask you like my more specific questions, how do you personally see it first?
See what?
How do you personally see and experience your sleep?
Oh, it's more my real reality than physical reality. Like my inner world is more real to me than like life circumstances.
Okay, so it does. But because you do have blast, so after you've like imagined this like perfect thing that you have in your head, it's time to make it real now, right? So
well, let me stop you there for a sec.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't have to make it real.
Okay.
Sometimes I can just enjoy knowing that I could and seeing where that could end up. That's enough. I don't have to actually do it.
I see. Is that also your NE playing? Because like, with NE, you can see different pathways and, you've
For
seen
sure.
pathways and you've already imagined and experienced it. So it's like, it's kind of boring now. It's time to switch to something else. Is it that kind of deal?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And you can go really deep into one direction and really get, an FI sense of what it is. And then it's not necessarily a desire to have that come to fruition, because I've already kind of enjoyed it, even though it's never happened.
How do you know which one of the stuff that you are imagining to act upon to do make real?
I would say the ones that are deeper in my FI.
Do you have an example when you did there was something really deep in your FI and you're like, well, this is the one. Like let's make something out of this.
So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional motocross racer. See, my family tells me I'm kind of like a light switch. I'm either 100% dedicated to something or zero. Like there's no real in between. And I've kind of had my obsessions, you can say. First it was like becoming a motocross racer. Then it was, being a monk. And now it's shifted to wealth, family, and building a nonprofit. So that's all I really spend my time on.
I love how FI is so random. Like monk and motocross racers, so extremely different, you know. Like one is very SE and the other one's like very like high sleep, right? So I was like, huh, what the hell? So how did the motocross racer thing pan out? Like, did you give it a serious attempt?
Yeah, I did.
How did you
And
do?
what stopped it was a crash. I had a pretty bad crash where I had to get like a metal plate in my arm,
Oh shit.
and so that kind of stopped it. I stopped having the strength I needed, and also finances at the time. I didn't quite have enough to sustain the project, the dream. So things shifted.
I'm guessing it's an expensive thing to get into.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. And then what about the monk? How did you like suddenly swing that direction?
It was an experience I had, spontaneous. I was just driving, and all of a sudden, it's very hard to describe these type of things, but it felt like a vacuum just sucked out all the negative feelings I had, and this crazy amount of joy came up, and I just started hysterically laughing. I had to pull over my car because I was getting lightheaded. I thought I was going to crash, and I just kept on laughing. I didn't know what was happening to me for probably like 20-30 minutes, and after that point, everything changed. Like disharmony I had with my roommate started to disappear. I started to become more lucky. It was weird coincidences were happening. And I had no idea what the hell happened. No clue. So then I started reading some books, and I started reading Ramana Maharishi and Nisargadatta Maharaj books from Barnes and Noble. And I had zero interest in religion, zero interest in spirituality. I was very science-based. I was studying physics. And so from reading that, I was like, wow, like they're talking about what I experienced. And so then I said, this is what I want to dedicate my life to discover and find out. And so then I went to search for different monasteries and found one in Hawaii, and I fell in love with it. And then that's it.
Where in Hawaii was this? There's like 4 islands, right?
Yeah, Kauai. So the westernmost island. It's Kauai's Hindu monastery. And my monk name was Mayuranada. You can actually Google me. We had a pretty good web presence.
Oh, nice.
There's a bunch of photos of me as a monk in India too. We went to Sri Lanka, India. We did a lot of traveling.
That's awesome, man. I did the Kalalau Trail when I was in Kauai before.
Oh, you were in Kauai?
Yeah, I've been there. I did the Kalalau Trail at the Nepal.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's like a bunch of hippies at the beach there. I don't know if you've been there.
Yep, always there. Yep.
Yeah, so I kind of can picture like there's a lot of people who live there like all year round. They never leave, and they live with like nature. They like catch fish and like get shrimp and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was when you were saying that stuff, I was like picturing that place for some reason.
Yeah, I wasn't quite there. It was actually like a cloistered monastery, kind of in the center of the island.
Is that by like the canyon, the Waimea Canyon or something?
No, opposite side. Waimea Canyon's on the west side.
Yeah.
This was kind of on the east side, near Kapa'a.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool, man. That's an interesting life you've had. What did you pull out of that experience? You know, because you did it for 10 years, right? Before you decided to leave. Did you? I mean, what made you decide to leave to begin with, and then like start to do something else?
Sure. So at first you start off with 2-year vows at a time. So you do 2 years and then you renew them. I was coming up to the point where lifetime vows were going to be given to me. And I had a really long, hard think about if I really wanted to do that. One, because I just exited a 2-year, very intense, disciplined, austere period as a yogi. And once you come out of that, you never go back into that sort of discipline again. It's like a one-time thing. And when I got out of that, I found I could see that my life would be rather stagnant. It'd be nice, peaceful, but it'd be kind of stagnant. And I wanted more growth, and going out would provide that. And mainly because I didn't think I was capable of building a life from nothing, from scratch, in having to use my demons, basically. So I kind of threw myself into the frying pan, so to speak. Because when I left, when you go into the monastery, you relinquish all possessions. So I had no bank account, no assets, no clothes, nothing. They gave me an iPhone, $1,000, and a plane ticket. That's it. And I left with that.
The monastery gave you an iPhone?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I still have it. In fact, that's the one I'm using right now, is the one they gave me.
That's cool. Yeah. So what kind of religion is this that you were involved? Is it like a Sikh, or is it Buddhist, or?
It was Hindu.
Oh, Hinduism. I see. Yeah, I remember I traveled in Myanmar before, and I went to different monasteries there, and I was surprised to see the monk with like iPhones and like cell phones and stuff. So it was kind of jarring. I was like, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting when you brought up that, like, the iPhone thing. Okay, so with sleep, I guess you do it in such a savior state that it's kind of hard to describe it, or maybe you can. Kind of curious how you would describe it. So sleep is going over known information over and over again, right? So what is your purpose of doing that? Like, what are you trying to get out of going over the known information over and over and over again?
Yeah. Making sure that the information is solid. Poking at it to see if there's any holes in the logic, or seeing it from a different point of view. There's always something you can rework, think a little differently about. And it's kind of like every time I add a new piece of info into the known info, it changes everything. And new combinations can be made. And so that's what I do. Sometimes my wife snaps her fingers in front of me. It's like, what are you staring at? And I didn't even realize what I'm doing. I'm just going to this consume sleep loop. I'm not staring at anything. I'm somewhere else.
Yeah. My girlfriend sleep first, so sometimes I'm driving and she's like zoning out, and I'm like, I guess that's what like sleep is, So let me think here.
Yeah, and also emotionally processing things. It's not just about thinking and logic. It's also about emotions. Emotionally processing. What happens if this? What happens if that? If you think of it focused enough, you can actually feel it. So processing death, processing a wider range of things or possibilities.
When I spoke to Dave, he said I have about 50% use of my sleep class, which is great. So I can do the emotional processing thing, and I can relate to that. The other stuff I don't know. That's why I'm wondering what you're doing here. I want to see from different angles, what exactly are you doing, so maybe I can practice it personally. So I spoke with I don't know if you spoke with blanking out now. Anyways, there was a consumed sleep person in Jonathan. I don't know if you spoke with Jonathan, but anyway, yeah, your play last. I should have known. But anyways, so he said to me that when he's using sleep, when he thinks of a situation, he'll be like, okay, how do I feel about this person knowing about the change in situation? How does this other person feel about the situation? And then there's those different angle stuff. See, I never do that, so I'm curious to know. How do you know when to start doing that, where you process your perspective and then you kind of think about other people's perspective and kind of see it from the different angles? How do you know when to hit at let's say a problem,
Sure.
from different angles.
Yeah, it can be used towards a problem, but also anything. Like, let's say I have family over, we played Jenga.
Yeah.
Then after we're done, I'll pretend to be in that other person's perspective and see how they saw the whole thing, and like process the whole experience from 3 or 4 different points of view, and more than that. If there's like a real problem, I'll totally put myself in their shoes and pretend to be them and see what happens then. So it's kind of like a video game, really. And there's a bunch of characters, and you just kind of play around with different combinations and see, try to understand all of the information and truly what was happening.
Are you processing more like the social interaction, or are you processing the game itself, like what happened in the game? Or
it depends. Both.
I see. So okay, I get it. Okay, so do you have an example of do you have an example of like let's say there's like something that happened between you and a family member and you were emotionally triggered, and obviously it's from my perspective, since I'm tribe above self, my first inclination is to blame someone why there's a problem. And obviously so over time I've practiced to like, okay, no, don't blame, like you probably did something. But like from a high sleep perspective, how do you approach that? How do you sleep process first before you go to the problem solving part?
Sure. Well, first to try to understand what I was actually feeling to the whole thing. What was the cause of the trigger? Next is see it from their point of view. If I was them, like was I out of line? Like did I push them in some area that I didn't realize? And really it's just going deep into why I was triggered. I kind of leave everyone else out of it. I'd like to step back and go in my room, so to speak. If something like that happens, I never go out, like ever. If things go get triggered or go sour, for example. But I'm kind of like, well, if I was there's some reason why I was triggered, and so I take a deep dive and find out why.
Do you try to find a resolution with the other person, or no, it's good enough what you process in your head?
Good question. Circumstances that require resolution with the other person, maybe I would say 30% of the time. The other percent of the time, resolving it by myself without the other person, bringing myself resolved into their presence, kind of resolves everything without having to like specifically call out that resolution.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? But sometimes it's required.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I can see that as well. So when you're doing the sleep processing, let's say you get emotionally triggered by something, whether someone or something, probably a thing, since you're an EP. But everyone's still a decider, right? So people can still trigger you. How do you know, like when you're sleep processing, like how do you know that you've come to a certain conclusion, which is the answer you're seeking? How do you,
I feel it.
like you just feel better?
I don't have a restriction. It's open and flowing. And if that person were in front of me, I wouldn't want to secretly say anything or do anything to them. Some of the questions I ask myself are, if I were not to get caught and I would 100% get away with it, what would I do? Just to kind of bring out what's kind of hiding in there. So it's just there's no disharmony.
So you would say 67% of the time you are able to do that for yourself, and then it's only like the 32% that yes, you do need to speak to someone else too.
Yeah, where you have to. It's required. Yeah.
So basically,
And I force myself to do it because I know it's needed.
So how long would you have to sleep process for you to get to that point where you get that release, that like negative emotion release? Like, could it be?
It depends.
Could it take you a long time? Could it take months, or is it something that usually you can resolve pretty quickly?
So, since I did a lot of work in the monastery on very specifically this, now it's much faster. But I would say it could be a few weeks at the longest, and then as the years went on, it got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and now it's like if it doesn't get resolved in an hour or two, then something's really messed up.
Right. I guess that's when you'll talk to the person then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. That's interesting. So I guess when you were new, it did take longer, and then as you got better, you
have to understand. I basically dedicated my life. It's all I did for over a decade.
Yeah.
And with instructions of on meditation and yoga. So.
Yeah, that's insane, man. 10 years as a monk. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Okay, so sleep also has the. So what about the SF part of your sleep? How do you personally experience that SF part of it?
Well, I really like the interactions between people. That's something that's very enjoyable. I don't like to participate as much, but I do like to be involved in understanding the dynamic.
What about the physical aspect of that SF sleep? So I noticed like a lot of ISTJs specifically with high SF sleep. They're very big into their appearance, or doing stuff that's perceived as cool.
Yeah.
Do you like to do that kind of stuff as well, since you do have a high SF sleep, or not so much?
So 99% of the time, I couldn't care less what's going on with that. In fact, my wife dresses me. She tells me what I'm wearing actually works or not. But the area where it's like, hey, don't touch my stuff, I got this exactly the awesome way I like it.
Yeah.
Is like in my office. Like that's off limits. Like I want it like exact because it produces a certain feeling. It's like more of a place that's more intimate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I got dominion over this. You ain't touching it.
Yeah.
But everything else, the whole out there, I don't care. I really do not care.
Yeah.
Like, you want to change the curtains, go right ahead. You want me to wear an orange shirt instead of a green one? I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not important.
Yeah, I can relate with that. So yeah, so do you get territorial with your stuff then, or is it more like, because like it's feminine, it's still feminine SI though, so it's like, so if it's feminine SI, it's not so much like you get territorial. So what's happening then?
I in certain areas, I am like very strict with organizing. But it's only a very small part. Everything else is just doesn't matter. Like again, it's in like my office and work for some reason. It's like things have to be a certain way. Things have to be organized the way that I categorize them to be, and it can't be any other way. But outside of that, whatever.
Okay, so I did a panel interview a while back with everyone with the same function stack as us, and I thought it was very fascinating that like with like ENFPs and INFPs, regardless of the animal stack, dealing with emotion directly is something that we are not afraid of. It's like we prefer to tackle it head on, like even if it's a negative emotion, than to sweep it under the rug and pretend it never happened.
Yes.
You know?
Mhm.
Versus like, let's say an ICJ and ESTJ, the ESTJ, the moment the feeling happens, they're scared. The feeling scared the hell out of them. In the ICJ, they're a little bit more different too. So they'll use like an object to make themselves feel better, but if that doesn't work, they have no problem seeking help to fix their emotion. So it's probably because of double decider stuff happening. But while the ESTJ scared of people, right? Because like so but I did notice with the ENFP, the big problem is taking care of the health, like having the routine, the SI routine to do things that's good for you health wise, whether that be exercise, sleeping at the right time, sleeping at the same time, or eating the right food. How do you personally perceive that yourself, since you have sleep savior and it's double activated? Like
I've never had a problem with that. I've always eaten healthy, always plenty of discipline. I like going to bed at the exact same time. I like getting up roughly at the exact same time. Never really had an issue.
And you work out and stuff? Like working out is no problem for you too?
I don't like working out.
Okay, so that's the one area that
I do yoga. But as far as like going to the gym, I've never really been able to sustain that.
is it like a no interest kind of deal, or is it something, or just like lack of?
No interest. I'd rather just do like light physical body stuff that keeps me healthy enough and focus my energy on other more important areas for me.
I see. Got it. Okay.
But as far as like eating healthy, things like that, no problem. Like not an issue.
I wonder if that's like a low play thing. I'm curious because like I work in the fitness industry, so for me, so when I hear people say, "Oh, I only do yoga," I'm like, that's not gonna build up your bone density, like it's
right.
It's not gonna fix your posture. Like it will, to an extent it will, but it's not gonna be like, it's not gonna hit all the muscle groups that you need to stay healthy. So for me, when I hear that, I just like face palm kind of like to each their own. So
apologies. No, so yeah, basically it's just like cardio and that's it.
Okay. So you're at least you're doing better than people who don't exercise. So okay, that's cool. What about the whole sleep thing? Like, do you have like a natural inclination where it's like, oh, time to sleep, like like it's just like automatic, like, okay, I'm tired, time to sleep, or like I'm tired, it's the afternoon, you want to take an afternoon nap, or just chill out? Like, is there like a natural, like it's almost automatic for you to do that?
I could basically sleep on command. If I want to take a nap in the middle of the day, which I love naps in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
No problem. I got 20 minutes. I can just sleep for 20 minutes. Within 5 minutes, I fall asleep that night, almost all the time. And when I get up, I just get up. Like it's not dragged out. It's just okay, time to get up.
So part of sleep is prioritizing what's important and doing the most important thing. Because you don't have time to do everything, right? So you have to focus on the most important thing. I'm sleep last, so that's something I have issues with. So I sacrifice sleep to get things done, but I'm not sure I'm actually necessarily doing the right thing. I'm pretty sure some things that I did, I didn't have to do,
Yeah.
And I don't have like your automatic like sleep on command thing. Like sleeping for me is super hard. Like I can't sleep unless I'm like mentally drained. I can be physically drained, I still can't sleep. I have to be mentally drained. And so so I'm curious how people do that. Like, how the hell do you just sleep? Sleep last people, we can't sleep. Like, even if we're dead tired, we still can't sleep. There's like a million things running in my head. I'm like, things that I need to do, and And like,
well, I have no idea how you guys stay so active. They just keep on going. I'm like, it's like no way I can compete with that. That's just.
well, I mean, like it for me, I'm like, there's so much that needs to be done. So I need to do it, you know. And then when I'm tired, I then that's when I consume, you know, which helps. But
you know, one thing I'm really interested in too is like automating processes. So I like to find the least effort way to do something. So I'll work in like a consume sleep way, and T-ish way to figure out a system that allows me to get something done without having to do it because it's automated.
do you have an example of that, like banking, I guess?
Yeah, well, like in work, for example, you know, when there's a certain subject line in an email, it'll automatically do something. That way I don't have to go do that thing. I'm really bad with examples because that's all super demon for me. So, but I'd say, yeah, like for example, like in my investing business, I program a robot to do all the decisions for me, and management of things. So like that, I spend time doing that. That way I don't have to get as involved in things. I can just kind of be the overseer, look over, you know, overviewer, and just, you know, making sure everything's okay, but without having to, like, you know, be grinding there on the ground, so to speak.
Oh, I can see that, but what about like other stuff? Like you can't. How do you automate, like, you know, what you're eating or like your exercise or?
Yeah, plan. Yeah. So like eating, you know, the whole week's everything is planned out with the budget of what I need. This is what I have for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, and I don't have to think about it.
So you eat the same stuff over and over again?
Yeah. And my wife was like, "How can you eat the same thing over and over again?" I'm like, "This is fine." Like,
okay, but
like the mental energy to have to like figure out what to eat, what to do, you know, picking some. I would rather just, hey, let's buy this. These are all my lunches for the next week. Done.
Okay, but you're a tester, and testers love to try different foods. So how do you what are you doing around that? Or do you just ignore that?
I'll change it up after that. You know, after each week will be something different.
I see. So you'll eat the same thing for the whole week, but next week it'll be something else, like that's completely different. So you can stand to eat the same thing for 1 week, and then before you switch up.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, but just from what I know, like a lot of testers I know, they get bored with food really easily, so they have to switch on a daily basis. But for you, it doesn't bother you that much?
No, not at all. If it saves me the mental energy to have to figure out how to do stuff, it's like, thank you. It unburdens me. Yeah.
Okay, so preserving the energy is more more appealing to you than the taste, even if you still like the taste, like tasting. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What about your visual? You're visual too. So, how do you personally learn with your visual?
Well, very imaginative. Also spatial visualization. You know, on point. There was I was briefly interested in flying planes, and there was this test that you do where like there was a shape, and you had to. It would say, okay, take this shape and turn it 90 degrees this way, 180 degrees this way, you know, cut it in half, turn the top part upside down, you know, you have to imagine like visually a spatial thing. And I aced it because like all that visual is super easy. Like a computer screen, you with Photoshop or, you know, something else. It's, you know,
yeah, and you have double activate SI also, so that helps a lot. You okay? So when it comes to making big life decisions, so I want to do like an NE-SI axis now. So masculine NE, right? It comes across as very NI like, from what I've seen. I guess that's why you thought you were an INFJ.
Yep.
So with the NE, you can see different pathways going to the future of like if you do this, this is what it would look like, right? So you would see like the SI of like how to get there, and that's what it would look like. But then there's like multiple pathways. But it's masculine. Yours is masculine, right? So with masculine NE, how do you know and how do you feel confident to pick the correct pathway to work towards for your life direction? You know.
So for life direction, it's like where my FI is. Which one has the highest FI value, which pathway, and that's the one I choose. I don't think I've ever really been surprised by anything, because my NE imagines all possibilities. Right. I would say I'd be surprised that like, oh, that was a very low likelihood that would happen. I'm surprised that happened, but not like completely surprised that something happened. Yeah, like one of the things Dave explained was, NI does not want to know what's on the other side of the fence. And he's like, you're doing the thing where you want to know what's on the other side. And if you get that information, I'll just abandon what I had if this is better, no problem. He's like, yeah, then NI doesn't do that at all.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of face palm with the NI sometimes, because if it's the wrong path, you're kind of screwed, right? Yeah, but the problem with NE is that you could be stuck in a path where you keep switching paths because
yeah, that's been one of the hardest things. And I got to say, in the monastery, I was forced to choose a direction, and I oftentimes I'm like kicking and screaming, like a little kid, but I was forced. It was forced upon me by the tribe, and I'm so thankful for that, because I would never have been able to do that level of discipline by myself, and it has served me immensely. But yeah, that's the biggest problem. And as soon as something starts getting traction, it's like, oh, but what if I choose this one? This one would be this way, and you make no headway.
Yeah, because earlier you said, okay, which one has the most FI value? Well, guess what? The grass is greener on the other side. So the one on the other side, yeah, yep. It can change. So, but then if you keep switching lanes, then you're not gonna make progress. So, right. So how are you managing that? If the FI is the boss, then the FI is gonna pick the screwed up one, because the FI it's like, oh, I think his phone died. Let's see where he is. I'm gonna pause this real quick. All right.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Yeah, well, you're definitely an ENFP with like the things problem and the SI problem.
It kept I'm an idiot too, because my phone kept saying like 20%, 10%, 5%, and I just like, okay, ignored it. Yeah. Duh. I should have plugged it in before.
It had to happen, because two ENFPs in the same room. Yeah. Anyways, so we were talking about the FI and the switching the lane thing.
Yeah. So my answer to that is being forced to stick to one path generated a new FI liking. I've never been by myself past like the first barrier of sticking with something.
Right.
Being forced to stick with something, I found like a new appreciation for going that far into something.
Okay, so yes, I can see you going further and further and further with the FI and the SI, but when something shiny catches your eye on the side, you have the discipline now to say no to those shiny things.
Yes, more so.
So not always. So you can you would still get tempted, or you'll still do it, but
yep. And then I catch myself and I'm like, oh goddamn, and then just get back on track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever take a break from the path and dabble into the sides, or are you pretty disciplined and honed in?
Pretty disciplined. now I don't have much time also now. Working full time, just got married, just bought a house, a lot of things happening. I don't even really have much time to veer off into certain areas, but the occasional time I do, I'll take an hour or two and go. Sometimes I'm just, it's one of those days. And I was wanting to get productive on one thing and just side tangent. The whole day was completely unproductive. Okay, well, there's always tomorrow,
Do you beat yourself up when those days happen?
No, I don't beat myself up at all.
Yeah, I guess if it's something that doesn't happen frequently, it's not a big deal. It's just what it is. You're still human, right? So yeah. Okay. All right, dude. I have 2 more questions and we'll wrap up the interview.
Okay, sure.
So my question for you is, it's again back to this the sleep thing. So sleep is also correlated with setting boundaries with people, which I don't think you have issues with because you're play last, so the tribe is not a big problem. But where do you see yourself having a problem with having too much boundaries? Perhaps like, do you feel?
No, I've had boundary problems.
You have? Okay, can you talk about that?
Yeah, like I'm always like it was difficult for me to learn how to say no to things. People would take advantage of me. And I was always like a yes person, and I had to learn how to say no. That was something I had to put effort into. It's almost a non-issue now, but it used to be, it used to be a thing.
Do you think being an info dominant has anything to do with that? Because I noticed with energy dominant people, if they know it's really going to drain them, then the energy expenditure is what's going to stop them from doing that to begin with. The info dominant people, it's a little bit weird. It's like if I don't know how to even explain it, but I've noticed it with play last people too. It's like they'll go out of their way to help people. It's weird. It's a weird paradox, but I've seen it, and the only thing I could think of that's different is like they're not an energy dominant. So there's something about being an info dominant that you feel like you have to do the right thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would say you're very accurate with that. Holding up to the principles is the more important thing than I don't even realize what the energy thing would be, until it's too late.
Yeah, and then you run out of energy, right? Because you're not managing your energy. Because like my girlfriend's,
and then that's when I would no show to things, or I would just completely ignore, or that sort of thing.
I see. Then I guess you swing the other way, which is bad also, because then
yes.
I see.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess my to make this question even more concise is like, what kind of what kind of info dominant problem are you having as a result of you not being energy dominant as a play last? It's weird because like because for me it's obvious. I'm sleep last. I need to rest more, right? So what's going on with you? Like what energy dominant problem are you having? It's kind of confusing because like you have high sleep, right? So you're well rested. It's like I don't know what's going on with the play last people.
Good question. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Because I process things fast and like right away. Sometimes I'm processing as something's happening.
Right.
So I don't really think there's an issue. I would say that the only thing would be, the thing about taking advantage of, holding boundaries. That's something I definitely had to learn.
Well, Dave said something recently. I don't know if you relate with it, but like he said something like, people who are play last, you are not being as authentic as you could be when you're with other people. Like you have like
100%.
You have like a specific facade, or not even facade, but like a persona for the tribe. And
Yes.
how does that work? That's a little bit confusing for me. I don't understand.
Yeah. And that's been broken down more. I'm much more authentic now than I used to be.
Can you talk about what that was like before you learned to break it down? Like when you had it on when you were young?
Yeah, it's kind of like I would be in my laboratory, okay, and there's this thing called me, and it's very fragile. It's very sensitive. So I can't just take it and be like, hey guys, look at this. So I kind of protect it. I put it behind me, and I create a level of protection where I can be any character that I want to be or need to be without having to show that. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I don't get like what's the point, because that's kind of oh I get it now, dude. That's so exhausting to do. That's where you're losing your energy, because having the facade is freaking exhausting.
Yes.
Okay, I see now. Oh my god, it's so weird. Like
but it's much less exhausting just being authentic, and you're not going to die like you think you would.
Why do you think you're gonna die if you show the truth?
It's how it is. What can I say? It's I don't know. I really don't know where that comes from.
That is so freaking weird, because it's like, okay, I see how you're draining your energy now, but it's to me it's almost like illogical. like
probably is. It probably is.
Yeah, because like just be you, right? Like just then people are gonna like you. There's gonna be people who's gonna like you or hate you no matter what you do. So you might as well just be you. So because it takes less effort to be you than to make a facade or a fake person, or like having a wall, or just like a partial
but not really like being a fake person, just like holding back parts of yourself.
So in your case, you're holding back a lot then, because from what
yeah, it ranges too, or it would range, but it's like not showing all of yourself. I lived in Italy for 2 years, and one of the person that I spent a lot of time with there was my half sister's husband. He would say he's like, every week I find out something like new about you. Like, I didn't know you liked that. Like, it took a long time for me to like show everything of me to this person. While, to others, it's I would imagine high plays. It's natural. It's like, duh. But before I show, everything, it was like, it takes a while.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to show everything about you to everybody. I think it's like, maybe 80%, and then the 20% you save it for, your wife or family member and stuff.
Let's say that ratio is healthy and normal. My ratio is more like show 5%.
That bad? Like that? So you were like what? Like stiff then when you were talking to people? Like you were super professional and?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that. Just quiet, observant. Just didn't share much.
Yeah.
Took a while to get
to open up and stuff. And
so let's say you meet someone for the first time, let's say on a first date or something. It may take 1 or 2 dates to start to open up and get to know the person. But let's say that rate is a normal rate of exposure. That same might take 6 dates to get to this same place.
Well, I mean, that's probably good from a dating standpoint, because then you're more mysterious, so you come across more attractive. So I don't think it's gonna go against you from a dating standpoint. But I can see it being a drain if you keep it up, for long, like especially if you know someone already for quite a while.
I would say it's also a lot about energy conservation too. But I would say you're slow to make friends. You're just slow to make friends.
But if you're suppressing your personality, you are burning your energy to suppress that. You know, I think that's where the leak is happening.
I don't know if it's so much suppress your personality. I think that's too strong. It's just not opening up right away. Not, okay. Just slow to share and open up. I would say.
Maybe it also depends on which type you are. So as an ENFP with play last, it's gonna look a little bit different than another type. You know what that for some type it might be a facade. For you, it's just slower to open up. For other type, it could be something else entirely. But that's very interesting though. That's where the energy. Like for me, I see the energy drain happening from kind of like just not being you fully. So yeah, that makes perfect sense now. I was like, how the hell? Like, what energy issue are you having by being play last? I don't get it, but yeah, now it makes perfect sense now. All right, before we wrap up the interview, dude, do you have any last minute question for me? As someone that's your complete opposite, like double activated anti-play, whatever.
No, you've been a lot of fun. We would be good friends, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the higher play. I do.
Yeah.
I married one, so
yeah. All right. So Jai, thanks for coming out and sharing more about yourself. Awesome. And so take care, man. Have a good night and peace out.
You too. All right. Bye.